Today we'll take a look at the SOUN stocks to see what's happening, what the potential for price movement is. We'll definitely touch on volatility. Also, I will show you the volatility smile. Let's look at the volume for historical implied volatility. We'll definitely show you 3D volatility. Also, as is tradition, I will show you a strategy that can be used. We have a small loss, but everything else has a very high potential for profit. If the stock starts to rise or the stock starts to fall, but we will come back to this a bit later. Let's start with the stock itself. I remind you that the stock is involved in artificial intelligence in the field of music and audio. Over the past few months, it has increased by 500%, which is also due to companies like Nvidia beginning to invest in this company. And they see a very large profit potential. I remind you that the company is still unprofitable according to financial indicators. It's not making money. Again, this is more of a forward-looking company because its IPO was just 2 years ago. And while her potential is not yet realized, let's switch to volatility. What do we have at the moment? The first volatility remains at high levels. Also, let me show you the smile of volatility. As we see, the volatility smile on distant strikes has a straight line towards both increase and decrease. Our near volatility is higher. That is, it increases both towards put options and towards call options. This information will definitely help in creating a competent strategy. So let's look at historical and implied volatility. At the moment, historical volatility is the gray line, implied volatility. This is the white line. As we see, the white line is currently much lower than its historical values. So by relying on the fact that volatility always returns to its historical values, it can be said that the volatility of this company may increase. Therefore, I have always told you that you can make money not on price movement, but on volatility movement. That is, if volatility starts to rise, you can also make money on it. Let's formulate competent strategies, but with volatility at 250%, it's a lot. And I wouldn't build any risky strategies on increasing volatility right now because volatility is already very high. Okay, let's move on to trading volumes. As we can see, we have a very large volume concentrated at the $5 and $4.5 levels. This applies to call options. For put options, the main volume is concentrated at the $4.5 level. And as we see, the price has not been able to overcome the $4.5 level on the chart. There was some downward movement, but at the moment, we are buying up this price. This is related to the volume of demand to overcome this huge wall. Both in put options and in call options, a very large movement is needed. Just how this level will be overcome. And as we see, it is happening. That's why I always tell you to pay close attention. Our main volume dates are concentrated for this week and next week. Options expire in the coming weeks, which is not very good because it also increases volatility immediately. Let's switch to 3D volatility. Actually, the picture here is not very pleasant because not so many options are traded. And that's why the picture here is quite crooked, but in any case, it will help us formulate a competent strategy in the future. Let's dive straight into this strategy. In every video, I try to showcase interesting strategies using options. Again, I remind you of my philosophy. I don't know where a stock will go, I can't predict price movements, and I don't believe anyone can. My main task is prudent position management and portfolio construction. And generally, I try not to trade the underlying asset. I hardly ever trade stocks. I use stocks exclusively for investment purposes. I only trade options. Some rely on fundamental analysis, some on technical analysis, chart patterns, moving averages. I rely on mathematics and mathematical expectancy. My approach is entirely different. I tailor strategies so that I can profit from any price movement, as we can see. Regardless of where the stock goes, we can make good profits. There's one exception. A slight loss might occur if the stock remains between $4 and $5, but I strongly advise against opening this strategy. It's very risky, you could lose money. Like all other strategies, this one needs management. You need to open the position at the right moment, sell at the right moment, buy options, maybe add a hedge, sell or buy stocks, use the underlying asset. In general, the strategy is complex. I'm just demonstrating this so you can see how to trade to make profits in any case. I always mention this, and I'll remind you again when I get monetization on YouTube, I'll start a new account, a new investment account, funded exclusively from YouTube earnings. I'll show you how I buy stocks. Everything will be transparent, starting from scratch. I'll create a portfolio demonstrating how to manage it properly, including the ratio of stocks to bonds and cash. I'll explain all of this in detail and chronicle it. I can't wait to start this legendary experiment, and we'll see how much we can earn. If you believe it will develop over a long period of time, maybe in a few years, 5 or even 10, there's significant potential for price movement. But again, if you don't believe in the company, there's no point in investing. For a long-term investor, it's advantageous if the stock falls lower because it allows you to buy a good asset at a lower price. However, once the stock becomes profitable, it will begin its main movement and start to rise significantly. Since a company like Nvidia is investing in this stock, it instills more trust and optimism that everything will be fine with this company. I also advise you to watch my previous videos about this company where I analyzed its strategy. Where can it go? I presented another strategy there. You can choose any strategy for earning on this stock. Well, subscribe not to miss the beginning of a new experiment.